Of Alvis Hermanis since 5 years, and I have to say that it is really one of the theaters that I have emotionally been struck most. But I would also like to admit that for me, also Robert Lepage, and in the same moment Alvis Hermanis being here in Thessaloniki to receive that prize is for me a very good coincidence, because both theatre makers have really influenced and touched me very much in my professional life as a theatre programmer. I would like to first introduce you to our little group here of admirators, of programmers, of critics. Martinch, he is also an actor from the company, and he is he's in the company since the beginning, and he was a co-mate of Alvis, so they both started with Alvis to create this new theatre. I would very much like to tell you a bit about Alvis, but first I want to start also from this side. Monica Portmane. Monica is a scenographer and costume designer for Alvis Theatre since 2004. She started with the set design for Long Life that you have seen yesterday, and then she created such works like By Gorky, The Eyes, Naming Darkness, and recently the Latvian Love, but this is the work that comes after this Long Life that you've seen yesterday.
Pathetic, but it's true. Hermanis has a rare and extremely original combination of both rational, intellectual thinking and imaginative, spontaneous and intuitive vision of the world. He is one of the rare artists in Latvia who gives his imagination and erudition free run. It's really admirable that during 14 years, starting from Hermanis' debut at the Latvian Theatre, he hasn't had two identical or even very similar performances in their aesthetics. We can discuss qualities of these performances, we can like them or not, but it's hard to deny that each is like a new planet. Each of them has its own unique fingerprint. He goes the ways he wants to, both in real life of contemporary society and art, challenging all stereotypes and conventions which are covered with moss. So, now I'm going to say something about this debut period. Alvis Hermanis had made his debut in the Latvian theatre in the 90s of 20th century, which was a very specific period at the Latvian theatre. During the Soviet times, theatre in Latvia served as a tribune for ideas of the nation's self-confidence. Spectators gathered together like a parish in a church to share their inner hidden longings for a free Latvia. During 70, 80 years, it was even possible to speak about the phenomenon of the Aesop's language, a specific theatre culture of subtext. It doesn't matter how it was the content of the play, it always was something like a political theatre, and namely narrative theatre. But Hermanis in his first performances sometimes used words similarly for their musical value. After the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991, theatres were absolutely confused and were forced to change their habits basically. Theatres were searching for new forms of expression from both point of view of economics and creative ideas.
I would like first of all to come back to the title of this prize, which is called the New Theatrical Reality. And I think that sometimes in European theatre, when we talk about the new reality in past 20 years probably, we mean sometimes the implementation of new technology for the theatre, or the elimination of borders between different theatre genres, or going to some not-theatrical spaces to make theatre, or engaging amateur people on the stage, or something else. in this line. And we cannot say that Alvis do not use any of these theatrical means, because, for example, he performs, the actors perform eyes after Vladimir Sorokin out of their theater in different unusual spaces, and used video, for example, in the performance after Gorky's, yes, after Lower Deck by Gorky, and one of the actors in Sonia in the performance, which is touring now around Europe, is amateur actress. So he uses all of these things I mentioned, but at the same time, I think that he is there. It's not no one of these things becomes the principle for him, and at the same time, I think that he is the best winner of this prize, the best winner which could be chosen, because he really read out and learn out and look out the theater from the reality.
So I would like now to come to talk to Alvis, to talk about his theater. And we had already many notions that we want maybe explore now very concretely, the notion about what means new realities in his theater. We know that the notion new realism, for instance, in German theater is quite common and is used for Thomas Ostermeier and Falk Richter, but it has nothing to do what we have now so far heard, which is going to lead into this new realism that Alvis is looking for. So, private space, private room. You had a performance by Yevgeny Grishkovets, The City. This first performance, you were putting it into an apartment. Audience had to stay in the apartment very close with the actor. And we heard a lot about exploring the characters for your plays into the ordinary life by everyday people. So is private space and private life, is it a material for a kind of new poetry that you are looking for?
Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for such emotional words, but let me I will let myself be more rational. I would like somehow to formulate, to define what the method, what we are using for several years. Not only in New Riga Theatre, but in other theatres where I'm working as a director with other actors as well. Several years ago, I very radically shifted my professional technologies. I lost any interest to theater and understood that the thing what I'm interested in is life itself, not theater. It sounds like this old expression that only theater critics should be interested in theater, that artists should be interested in life. But I mean it very literally. And I started use as theater as an instrument to make my, I would call them more anthropological researches. And I'm completely obsessed with the so-called ordinary life, yeah, life of how to say. Let me explain it in other words. For example, I don't believe that nowadays for people living in Europe that passions, and theater always needs passions, yes, to make a drama. That nowadays you cannot find a real passion in social, political ideas, not like it used to be in the last century, in 20th century. But nowadays, how to say, there are still, and there always will be a lot of passions in our private lives. So I believe that in the beginning of 21st century, it's hard to find a real passion and inspiration in how to say, outside of our private lives. That's how to explain our obsession about private spaces, private rooms. Yes, that's why almost all my scenographies, they are looking, they are like copies imitating private spaces of people. This, how to say, best scenography is those private rooms, because how to say, I believe that normal European people, they are living double life. One life is outside their homes. How to say, when we are entering socium, then we are playing this game, which is getting more and more boring. But when we are coming back at home in our private spaces, there we have a real life, and all our secrets are hidden in our private territories. Yes, so that's completely changed the method of rehearsing. Actors are spending most of the time outside the theater building, not sitting with the exemplars and smoking in their dressing rooms, but they are, how to say, they are actors in my performances. They more behave like scientific researchers. They are like reporters, yes, like archaeologists, like detectives sometimes, yes. Now, for example, the good year ago we did a performance called Latvian Stories. All the 20 actors of our theater, they should find one prototype, real person living in our country, and everybody should make a half an hour long performance about this prototype. And for a long time they investigated this person, of course, with his accepting it. Now, for example, one actor, he took his prototype was a soldier who was preparing go to Iraq, and our actor, he spent 1 month with the permission of Ministry of with the army. He spent 1 month in this camp for preparation, where soldiers are prepared to serve in desert. Yes. And also actors are taking it really seriously. This is not, how to say, this is, of course, when we are gathering all this information in theater, our rehearsals, we are doing rehearsals only to gather this information, and then we are making selection, of course, and then we are trying to translate it in poetical images. Yes, no. How to say? Honestly, my personal opinion is that this paradigm of Antonin Artaud, that what theater of 20th century was obsessed, that theater should be focused on the hidden, of the dark sides, yes, of the human beings. I think this paradigm is exhausted. There are no mushrooms anymore. And how to say, it's not so, I believe it's not so interesting to again and again to find another proofs that human beings are, how to say, came from animals, yes? It's better, there are enough proofs. It's more interesting to find what is different, what is the difference between human beings and animals. Honestly speaking, I'm not interested in future. I'm interested only in past. Future seems to me quite simple, very predictable, boring in a way. Yes, people's lives are getting more boring and boring. But past is, how to say, we belong to 20th century. In this century we are, how to say, we are outsiders or guests. Yeah, we are people from 20th century, and theater as a form of art, it has different tempo rhythm. Yeah, theater is always about gathering for 2 hours in dark room, sitting together to stop the time a little bit and go deeper in some contemplation. Yeah, theater tempo rhythm of theater as a form of art and tempo rhythm of our civilization on this outside of theater has nothing to do in common. It's very opposite vectors. Yeah, so theater, like for nowadays, is like an ecological zone, ecological territory. How to resist this, those rules what we have on the streets. Yeah, that's for example, I have a theory that best. It has always quality of theater work has something to do with the size of the city. For example, best conditions for theater is always in the cities which are not bigger than 1 million people. The best size is like maybe 500,000, because those human proportions, what we have in everyday life, they are very close connected with this tempo rhythm of theater work. Because of course it's good to get the prizes and drink a champagne, but theater work is actual everyday theater work is very introvert, yes, and it needs, how to say, really no contemplation. It's like that's why this another big problem of nowadays theater is that you should manage to make performance normally in maximum 2 months. For example, when you are remembering how artists were behaving centuries ago, let's say, for example, in one church, 40 craftsmen were working for 10 years together to build one, how to say, church, for example. Making art always had to do with the amount of time and what you are investing. Nowadays, you know how it is. You are, how to say, very quickly, you are, for example, in the kitchen, quickly you can make only the omelette, yeah? You cannot make very sophisticated food. Theater is, I apologize, we honestly, we can tell that we are using theater as an instrument for other means. We have other interests.
How many people has Riga inhabitants? Just to give us a
Riga is a little bit too big for theater, I would say. We have around 700,000. It's already. What else?
So at this point, it is very clear that your theater work is about creation and is not about text adaptation. And I would like to come to the ideas, how you find the ideas, because when you make a performance like Long Life, it's not that I think, so far I understand you, that you have the idea, old people have been the prize for our entry in the human European community. It is. Where do you find those ideas? When you say you are interested more in the past, I mean, the link to come to these old people, can you explain a little bit where you dig?
Speaking about, for example, about Long Life. First of all, I have to say that conditions for yesterday performance were exceptional, because we are usually showing this performance in a very, very small room with a very close distance between audience, and usually we are using maximum 7 rows, yes. But and then audience should, to get on their seats, they have to enter the corridor. Because yes, there were too many people, it was not possible. Yeah, no, but that's right. At a certain point, of course, we lost any interest in staging plays, and most of our performances are creations made together with actors, scenographer. We are real collaborators. It's how to say. This is not a puppet theater. We are real co-authors of all our works. And no, yeah, how to say? What about speaking about plays? I don't know. No? All theater critics in my country, they always asking me, okay, but when you will start to stage real theaters, Shakespeare and Ibsen, and you have such a good actors, they want to play real characters, real roles, but no, how to say? I'm not interested in plays where people are killing each other. Normal people don't behave like this, you know. In Shakespeare play, if they have any slightest problem, the solution is very simple. Just elimination of problem. Normal, ordinary people. Yeah, that's the point of our how to say pathos. Yes, that we are looking for poetry in ordinary life, in common life. I believe that people are expressing themselves not in situations which are not how to say extreme situations. No, first of all, we in Europe we have so less extreme situations in our lives. Maybe thanks God, but you know, in extreme situations, because most of the plays written for theater, they're about people in extreme situations. But you know, for example, worst people could, in extreme situations, could behave like heroes or opposite. Extreme situations, in my opinion, tells nothing about people. But people are revealing in their everyday life. And this is so interesting. This is so interesting. Really, we feel ourselves with actors like detectives, yes, who are hunting. No, this is maybe not almost already not unhealthy curiosity, but we are extremely interested in everyday life.
So one important technique in your actors that you define also as your co-writers, and it is very clear that this is about creation and finding its own characters. But one very clear technique, which is very obvious, is that your actors work with what we call mimesis and
imitation, mimicry.
And mimicry, which is, in principle, it comes from a very traditional form of perception of theater. It's the Aristotelic principle, but you transform exactly this into something what we would find a new theater.
We mean it very literally. This acting profession is about becoming somebody else. It's about this hocus pocus, to transforming to somebody else. You know, professional actors nowadays, actually so few of them have this talent to transform to somebody else. Most of the actors, they are all the time they're representing their own personality. They're learning texts and always representing their own person. But this 100%, we really are dreaming about this 100% illusion when actor is becoming somebody else, about this miracle of transformation. You see, for example, in our case, for yesterday performance, there were no sense to use a makeup. Actors use no makeup at all. Although, yeah, and this performance, of course, it's very bad for health, for actors' health, because ladies, for example, they cannot get faces back until next morning. I can tell you one story. Once I had a phone call, theater, from one potential sponsor. He owns his own clinic of plastic surgery, and he offered to make facelifts for our actresses for free. We were very excited, but then we gathered more information and understood that then we could perform only, how to say, kabuki theater, because actors are maybe only profession where it's really not a good idea to make. No, you are losing this, yes, your instrument. And but for example, the performance what you are going to see if you will come on Saturday, Fathers, there is we used more sophisticated makeup what we have nowadays in technology of this profession, because then actors in the process of performance, their faces are becoming to their fathers, real father faces. It's again pity that there's too big, not much too big space. Yes, it's try to sit on the first rows. Yeah, this is another very important thing for acting technologies, to remember this very essence of acting, to become somebody else, to make this miracle on stage.
Well,
Not this thing what nowadays professional actors have lost.